And now, a thought from man. There's no real surprise with the new DuckTales reboot. It's just as much as what you'd expect it to be. There's nothing really surprising about it. It's a great reboot, honestly. There's nothing terrible about this. This show was clearly made out of passion for the original. It's made by people who grew up on the original DuckTales and really loved it and understood the original material. And they even understood the comic books of it. So honestly, going into this, if you were really expecting this to be bad, then shame on you. The advertising straight up told you, yeah, we are putting passion behind this. We clearly want to tell this story. We want to enjoy these characters and write them great, and we want to do great by them. So obviously, this was gonna be good. There was no question about it.
There you go.
The main premise is about Scrooge and his nephews going on great adventures and discovering the mysteries of the world. And honestly, it does a great job in introducing itself and its characters. It's something that a lot of reboots neglect a lot of the time, say Ben 10 and the new Powerpuff Girls. This show knew we have to introduce ourselves to both a new audience while at the same time understanding we have an old audience that might still want to watch this. It knows don't pander, because if you pander, you're neglecting people. It understands try to be more universal, try to be more open for everybody else. So that way everyone can enjoy it rather than just the niche fan base or a whole new fan base that you didn't have yet. If you didn't grow up on the original like I did, then you have a new show to enjoy. Granted, I watched a few episodes from the original series, but I wasn't that into DuckTales. It's good, don't get me wrong, the original was definitely very good. But this is still good too. And if you're a fan of the original series, you'll enjoy this too because it remembers, yes, there was an old series. We don't just pretend like it didn't happen. We take from the original series just to reintroduce these characters. And one other thing about this reboot is it adds a sense of lore that the original DuckTales didn't really have. A lot of it was more about going on these crazy adventures and whatnot. But here they decided to change it up and add that there's a bit of history behind this. Scrooge and Donald sort of have a bit of a bad past. And I like that because it helps get you more engaged in the situations and whatnot. That's just something I really enjoyed the most about this, that there is a lore to follow. It adds a storyline that helps get you more invested with the characters and wanting to know what happened with their past. That's just honestly a really nice touch they added.
Our family is awesome!
The one major thing about reboots is that a lot of the time they end up changing the characters. Sometimes they end up changing a character that didn't need to be changed, that was very timeless. They had a very distinct personality that people really enjoyed. And this series understood Huey, Dewey, and Louie, they don't really have distinct personalities. They were pretty much the same character, just wearing different shirts. This one, they knew we need to change these characters. They need to stand out from one another. And I love that about this series. They knew, let's change up the voices so they sound different. Let's give them different personalities and traits. It knew how to do a proper reboot of a character. They made Huey the more Dudley Do-Right of the character. He's basically the responsible brother type, considering he's supposed to be sort of the oldest out of the triplets. And it's honestly a nice touch to help get a bit of a dynamic, because he's the older brother, so he takes on the responsibility of being that older brother. It's just very nice there.
When you're setting up a tent, first find your spot, make sure it's level, and totally free of rocks. Junior Woodchuck Guidebook, you truly have the answer for everything.
They made Dewey the more daring one of the triplets because his thing is, I'm the middle child and I want to stand out. I don't want to be seen as just that middle child that's part of the group. He wanted to be known that there is more to him than just being the middle child of these brothers.
You want me to adventure behind Scrooge McDuck or right by the sub? I might as well be back on the houseboat.
Because you have no idea what you're doing.
So show me. Give me a chance instead of lumping us all together in the backseat while you drive.
I'm not lumping you all together.
Oh, really? Which triplet am I?
It's Bluey?
Then you have Louie, who's basically the laid-back, irresponsible one. He more or less gets excited for adventures, but he's just kind of lazy in how he goes about doing certain things. And just as well, he could be a bit more of a troublemaker than the rest. But he's still pretty fun, honestly.
You didn't tell your grandma we were going to a dangerous underwater city, did you?
I kinda sorta didn't tell her anything.
Webby, that's irresponsible. She'll be worried sick. Call your grandma this instant and tell her that you are spending the night at a friend's house, okay? Lying, it's the responsible thing to do.
Scrooge is sort of the same as always. He loves his riches so much and all that, but he's not above putting family first. He will do the right thing in terms of always helping out his family and doing right by them. One thing I really do enjoy about them is that people have always wondered, how is it he's able to dive into a bunch of gold coins like that without breaking any bones? And they sort of added a nice lore is that he trained himself to be able to do that. He can't just do it. Because he basically tries to stop one of the boys from diving right in because he knows that's just going to crush your bones and you're not ready for that. I just kind of enjoy that they're willing to explain that a little bit.
I'm Scrooge McDuck. I made my name being tougher than the toughies and smarter than the smarties.
Webby is a lot different from her original counterpart, whereas her original was more of just a stereotypical girl. That's it. It's the only major important thing about her is that she's a girl. Here, no, she's actually very excitable, she's knowledgeable of Scrooge and his adventures and whatnot. She's been trained in a lot of ways to understand how to get herself out of dangerous situations, how to trap people and all that. There's a lot more to her than there was in the original. The original, she was just basic, just we need a female character because we need a female character. Here, they actually put thought and effort into her. The one downside is you do draw parallels of her with Mabel from Gravity Falls because they sort of seem a bit similar. You know, Mabel is very excitable, Mabel had a grappling hook. Webby is very excitable and Webby has a grappling hook. But I feel there's enough of the distinction. You do feel like they're not exactly the same. There are clear differences amongst these two. And I feel like you'll get to see more of that as the show goes along. And I'm always excited for that.
Wait, you know us?
Of course! Researching Mr. McDuck and his family is kind of my hobby.
What?
What are your blood types? What's Donald really like? Who's the evil triplet?
Louie.
Tell me everything!
Launchpad is just the crazy goofball as he always was. He's pretty much the one who's gonna get the biggest laughs out of the whole series because he's just so stupid and incompetent at his job. It's just a lot of fun watching him fail and mess up things, but he has such a nice heart. He's a very nice guy. That's just the thing of him, is that he's a nice guy, he's just very out of it.
Aw, family truly is the greatest adventure of— oh no, the ground!
Donald Duck is Donald Duck, honestly. He's that same old short-tempered bird that we all know and love. It's nothing really different about him here, and there kind of shouldn't be. You know, Donald Duck himself does have a very distinct personality. The one thing they did change up is that he's actually part of this now. He's gonna be living with Scrooge, with the boys and all that. He's now going to be going on the adventures with everyone instead of just he drops the boys off and goes off somewhere else to be in the Navy or anything like that. And I honestly like that they're willing to say, we want to put him in here. We want him to be more involved in this series. That's something different from the original, and that's a good way to help differentiate. I just really enjoy that the most. Honestly, I just enjoy the characters of this series a lot. They're fun, they're enjoyable, they're just great to be around. And I like that there's a bit of a history going on between Donald Duck and Scrooge. It just helps get you more wrapped into everything as it's going along. I really appreciate that they were willing to add that.
I knew I'd get rescue with the boys.
Not the time, Donald.
Crazy old man. I will tell about this next adventure. This is the Spear of Celine all over again.
I was not responsible for the Spear of Celine.
The voice acting for the series is actually very good. I like the fact that they got David Tennant to do Scrooge McDuck, even though sadly the original voice actor passed. They managed to find a good replacement. They got someone who actually is of a Scotch descent, and he has a very authentic accent, so it really plays to Scrooge's character very well. For Huey, Dewey, and Louie, I like the fact that they have different voice actors doing them because that helps you in differentiating them a lot. With Huey, he's voiced by Danny Pudi, or Puddy, however that's pronounced, of Community fame. And for Dewey, he's voiced by Ben Schwartz, who voiced Randy Cunningham in Randy Cunningham 9th Grade Ninja. And they got Bobby Moynihan to voice Louie, who's famous for SNL and voicing Panda on We Bare Bears. I like the fact that these actors bring a unique performance to each individual character, because that's what helps you tell who is who. That was always a big problem with Huey, Dewey, and Louie as characters. No matter where you put them in, you couldn't tell who they were. They used to be voiced by Russi Taylor, and that always made it difficult to try to figure out who was talking or who was who. But this way, it's a lot better, and definitely something very welcome. Webby herself is voiced by Kate Micucci, and she's always a lot of fun. Whenever she's voice acting, she's giving 100%, and she's just always very fun and funny. That's always the thing about her, and I like that they chose her for this. Launchpad is voiced by Beck Bennett of other SNL fame as well. And he's always funny, honestly. He's funny on SNL, and he's just as funny playing Launchpad. They just really did great with this cast. It's basically an all-star cast, and I just love this series for that. It's just really, really fun.
Yeah!
The art style for this one is very nice, honestly. It's a nice homage to the original comic books, and it adds a very unique style to this series to help make you realize this is its own thing. It's just a very pleasant style to just enjoy and look at. It's sort of a warm and comforting style. You feel kind of cozy as you're watching the series. And I'm always a fan of feeling cozy. I mean, who wouldn't be? Come on now. So that's just something I really like about this, is that you just feel at home as you're watching it. You just feel like sitting back and relaxing and enjoying it, even though the situations get crazy and hectic a lot of time. It just feels like you're just at home reading a good book or watching a good television show in this case. I just really like that.
That's deep. I gotta write that down.
The humor for the series is honestly a very natural type of humor. It mainly comes from the fact that these characters are just very fun and enjoyable and basically just can play off of each other very well. Like I said, a lot of the humor does come from Launchpad getting into stupid shit or doing something kind of dumb. He's just that lovable goofball, like I said, and sort of people's reactions to him can be very funny too. But a lot of humor also comes from Huey, Dewey, and Louie. A lot of it comes from Webby. A lot of it can come from Scrooge. I just like that it's able to understand we have different characters that can play off of each other and have very humorous fun. I just really enjoy that.
Oh, no.
Oh, look! Uncle Hampus is here and he only speaks Swedish. We don't want to be rude, so goodbye?
And you're done. Yeah, you're never gonna be able to back up that lie. That was crazy.
This is just a downright great reboot. It manages to pay homage to the original series while not living in the original series' shadow. It knows to differentiate itself to say, we are not the original series, but we understand that the original series existed. That's something a lot of reboots fail, like the Powerpuff Girls or the Ben 10 reboot, or Ghostbusters even. This one understands we need to pay attention to what made the original so great, while at the same time adding some things and sort of taking away some things that hurt it. There was clearly passion put into this. This wasn't done by those so-called suits and executives who try to say, well, this is nostalgic now, so let's make a reboot. It's done by people who really do care for the franchise and want to see their own interpretation of the franchise, and they want to do their own interpretation of the characters. I really appreciate a reboot that is done out of passion rather than for the sake of nostalgia or money. That's just a nice thing about this series, and I just really enjoy the fact that if you haven't watched the original series, this just works as a new series for you to enjoy. And if you have watched the original series, this is just a nice way to help see the characters in more of a different light, someone else's interpretation of them. I really like how they were able to do that for both new and old fans. That's something a lot of people tend to forget about how to do. It's a very fun series, the characters are all likable, the series of adventures that they go on are all fun. It's just a downright fun series, and you really would want to watch it. It's just very enjoyable. But that's just a thought.